observe now for getting us all together to discuss on one of the critical important topic of the today, right? So when we talk about digitization, there are really four dominant feature of digitization that we see in India, right? One is each of us, individual, had been trying to do a personal transaction, be it a personal transaction or social exchanges as well digitally. Secondly, every sector is digitizing and they're making plans, significant aggressive plan for digitization. Third important part is the critical sector like defense is modernizing. A lot of investments are going for that. And the last one, which is very critical, is the effort that we have put together. So until now, there was only three narration of digitization led by US, China, and probably Europe. But we have created our own narration for digitization through digital public infrastructure, basically, which is a aggregate level accreditation intervention and creating ecosystem so that everybody, be it a legacy company plus the startup ecosystem or innovation ecosystem, comes together to achieve that significant transformation and the kind of volume that we are achieved and kind of speed at which we have been going. So these are the four dominant features of digitization that we see. But while we see digitization and each of the segment and element that I just talked about, there are definitely some concerns, some constraints, some possibilities basically. So that needs deliberation and very serious reflection basically. And for that we have a very good panel here. One largely from the representatives of the public sector units, from the oil energy sector, from the power sector. We also have representation from the government intervention, from the infrastructure perspective, from the applications perspective, NEGD, and also BHASHINI basically, which is one of the very significant part of digitization to taking it to the farthest possible segment of the society by taking digitization in more regional language. And to discuss it, we have also technology player, which is enabling this digitization. And in all that, we also need to look at there are a lot of this constraint and concern that we talk about, a lot of explanations require, and how do we still make it possible with all of those constraints that PSU in public sector basically goes through basically. So those are the areas that basically we'll be talking, and I'd like to start with the NTPC and IOC basically. So when it comes to digitization and the possibilities that you see, how you have been starting the journey and what kind of ideas that are being together is an inherent requirement or also the external push that is coming from the government basically. So we can start with you.
Thank you. Jai Hind. This is what I learned from you. And now onwards, wherever I go, I'll start with this, sir. Thank you, sir. I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to be part of this elite panel and to share my views with the learned audience here. Sir, I will just reframe this question, what you've asked to me. Why digitalization? There are many aspects, but due to paucity of time, I will touch upon which I think the most important. See, whatever the businesses, whichever sector, whichever facet of business we talk of, one very important part is making decisions. And when we speak of decision, then decision has to be taken when there are several options are there, which are there. And if we analyze the decision part, there are two major aspects that emerge. Number one, that is the intuitive part, which is basically the intelligence what the God has given to all of us. We apply that. And the second part is the reasoning part or the logical part. So we all know from our experience that any reasoned decision based on data improves the quality of the decision. Quality in terms of the impact it makes, and on the more important, the timing of the decisions. So while making these decisions, if the decision is based on data, We agree that the quality improves. So to start with, if the data is based on the current data, decision reaches up to a certain level. It further improves if the past data is also considered in taking the decision. And it reaches a very enhanced level of decision if I can also use the predictive data. So current data, past data, and the predictive data. If these are used for decision making, and that too in real time, that will improve my decision making and the quality of the decision. So with this background, how to make this possible? I think this theoretical aspect was known to us since decades. But with the introduction and making it practical, these digital technologies, this aspect has now become possible in real time. And this is perhaps one of the most important reasons that in whatever sector, whatever business what we do, always decision based on digital tools. And the power sector cannot remain aloof from this. Because in power sector, the driving forces, the driving factors are safety, reliability, availability, efficiency. These are the four major factors which determine and makes the power sector more critical in nature. And when you have to optimize each of them, it is very important that, now let me just take a small pause from here. If you analyze each of this, safety, reliability, availability, and efficiency, and if I break them into mathematical terms, in the equations, each of those equation will become a multivariable complex functions. Now to arrive at the best result in terms of safety or reliability or other, basically you have to solve this mathematical solution, this complex equation in real time, considering all the factors which are very dynamic, which are changing. Now doing this, the digital tools play a very important role in getting the best efficiency, best reliability, best availability, and above all, a very, very safe environment to work.
No. So this very interesting point you brought, if you can look at the power sector, the real-time decision making is important because especially in the distribution and transmission is very important, and how data, one for intelligence, decision making intelligence, but more importantly also data also helps you to talk about reasons well basically. So Manish sir, means, I had seen this vision document of Ministry of Petroleum and Energy, right, and which talked about how Indian energy companies, it's in a way a little bit lagging in terms of the digitization and use of those cloud technologies and digitization, working with even startup basically, right? And then it's advocating the extreme push. This is like a, apart from the energy sector's its own urge, there is the extreme push that is coming from the different ministries and government, like go for digitization basically. And one of the important question always comes is, especially in the energy sector and critical sector, is the security and privacy concern. So that's one concern. And other part is your ability to work, because digitization, when you talk digitization, means you are talking about working with external ecosystem, especially startup basically. On these two accounts, how do you see things are getting changed to, one is solve the security privacy problem, most importantly security problem, and other is to working with the startups?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Absolutely. First, I like to absolutely agree with my friend from NTPC that digitalization for public sectors in India, who have been playing an absolutely immense role since the beginning, and they have been the backbone of our economy. Now with this new digitalization, unless these behemoth organizations become part and parcel of this technology and innovation fostering, the country per se will not have that pace in terms of developing the entire thing. If you look, and in terms of the kind of datas and the manufacturing processes for a company like ours, which is the major energy company of the country, which runs 9 refineries, pipelines, 15,000 kilometers and plus, have a customer base of 20 crore plus and 60,000 plus touch points. Not going the digitalization way is not an option. It's not an option. If I have to stay relevant in terms of my business and to be with where the world is going, I have to bring and bridge the gaps wherever the digital gaps exists. So as far as this company is concerned and rest of the energy companies, NTPC is one of the leaders. Also, the idea to digitalization came out of this. We are working in a very competitive industry, which is transitioning currently. So the costs matter. There are a lot of public people working, 30,000 plus workforce, and a lot of machines around us. So we had already a lot of data being generated since so many years, and that data needed to be monetized, used in the fashion that is useful for the company per se. So that's how the strategy to go into digitalization came in. So we are using all these modern technologies and the emerging technologies like machine learning, AI, to bring cost efficiencies, the operational efficiencies, and bring more data insights to the workforce so that the decisions can be taken faster and more in real time, especially in an environment, in an OT environment. We know about IT, but very few people are able to use technologies in an operational technology environment like refineries, like pipelines, and in my terminals, where a continuous generation of OT data occurs. And this huge data needs to be understood, and through the historians and streaming data, some insights to be drawn so that I can have better FCCU performances, better FU and better MS optimization things, so that what I produce is the best I can produce out of my refineries. In terms of working along with the startups and other things, we are very, very high into this. We are collaborating with institutions like IITs to develop some cutting-edge technologies for our refineries. We have done that for our, the heat exchangers optimization tool which we have developed. We have used IIT Kanpur there. We have used IIT Udaipur also. And in the same fashion, going forward, tools like flare management, tools like hydrogen management, which we are working on. We are with the academia who are partnering with us in creating this cutting-edge solutions and innovations. We are also tying up with a lot of startups to create some of my initiations. Some of my initiatives are with the startups itself. They bring in that new thing and the quick force and quick to the market things. And we are able to do a POC quickly, then horizontally expand through tenders. Yeah. In terms of cybersecurity, you are absolutely right. When we talk about a company like ours with so much of PII data into my systems, which includes everything about you, your Aadhaar, your bank accounts, your mobile numbers, I have to have absolutely a cyber-secured vaults to handle all these things. And we should have intrusion protection systems, the best of the lot. And other than the IT, which was always there, today, as directed by CERTINs and others, we have to have the OT SOCs also. Yeah. So we were the first ones to create OT SOCs. We are working towards that for all my 4 refineries, the pipelines and other systems. The OT security is something very, very new to this country. I hardly find anybody across my company who can show me how the entire thing is working in a refinery situations. Yeah. So we are working along with a lot of private sector players from the technology partners who are able to showcase, work hand in hand with us. Apart from that, all of the new technologies also, we have IT players like Microsoft and other players, Aviva, working along with us to create certain solutions which are going to optimize a lot of my infrastructure, my supply chains. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to produce is a product at my refinery gate which is competitive. Yeah. And I am able to maximize my GRMs and the process out of that. Because ultimately pricing, which I sell to a customer, is very, very important. And I earn through that. And unless and until I optimize everything across this, I will not be able to use this. So that is how we are using this RPAs. We are skilling our manpower to use the new technologies. And going forward, all these things is leading to a situation where PSU, as PSUs, all of us are working towards so that India per se going forward. The new thing on the block will be the sustainability, the net zero things, wherein again the contributions from all of us are going to make a huge difference to the government's, ambition
Overall
to reach
ambitions.
2070.
Yeah. So after dwelling into the critical power sector or energy sector from the digitization perspective, so let me come to something which is from the citizen-centric, right? So something which is, because most of the thing that we have been trying to do is citizen is central to that, and there are thousands of services, means I think I try to make some calculations, almost 13,000 plus kind of services, both state government and central government is trying to put on digital way. If you look at Umang application itself, it's around 3,000 to 4,000 services which is there already in digital form. But taking that to the farthest possible, to the various diverse kind of population, I would like to come to Amitabh ji from the BHASHINI project, right? So how we are taking the entire digitization journey to the different diverse groups that we have as a country, right? And one of the important diversity that we have in terms of language, basically.
Yes, so, under the, yes, you are right that, language is the most important diversity in the country. And we have 22 scheduled languages and perhaps 100 languages, other languages which are spoken by more than 100,000 people in the country. And as a first part, we had taken up the 22 scheduled languages, which we wanted to basically deal in the mission with a perspective of saying that we would like to transcend the language barrier. That means language should not become a barrier for communication, for learning, for discovery, for innovation. Any of these areas, learning, language should not become a barrier. So we would encourage, learning in the mother tongue, still being able to be the part of the larger ecosystem for communication and collaboration. Given that objective, of course, we went across to, carve out multiple projects and involve the academia. We had about 70 odd institutes in the country, including IITs and triple ITs and NITs and other engineering colleges who had a footprint in the language domain, formed consortium among them and gave them specific problems to solve. So what are the problems we gave? First was that computer should be able to recognize the speech. What I'm talking should be able to recognize, to be recognized by the computer. That means all 22 languages will be recognized by the computer and converted into text. Then the challenge which we took was to have the text converted to text of the other languages, means 22 languages of text getting converted into 22 languages of text to other one. So that was the second project. Then we have text to speech. That means computer should be able to speak out the text which is written in 22 languages to the speech, right? So that is the text to speech service which we have. Beyond that, we had optical character recognition and, which actually recognizes the printed text, handwritten text, as well as the text which is there on the scenic text, which is printed and, labeled across there. Today when we started building this, we realized that the data in the internet, when you are trying to say digital data, which will help the AI models to be trained for translation, is very limited. So we embarked upon a journey of collecting the data. We approximately have about 200 plus people on the field who are collecting data on speech and text. And today, happy to state that we are doing good on 12 plus 1 language on speech part of it. That means computer will be able to recognize 12 languages and speak out 12 languages. And we do translate 22 languages in a bidirectional basis to work upon this. So this actually takes a huge amount of cases and impacting voice. In fact, putting across voice in the picture, what is happening is that the last mile can communicate to you with voice for all its needs. So the recent applications which we launched, you know, when we come, when we have a discussion for next round, I'll be able to tell you the use cases which has been coming up, which actually is not only transcending the language divide, but in some way also bridging the digital as well as the literacy divide.
Yeah, and this is very important. So it's not only the translation to the language, it's also ability to converse. And you may not, so one is the text, but more importantly, if you are able to converse through your voice, that would really change the game of way the things would happen and the transactions will be processed. UID also, the UPI also recently brought a voice-based transaction processing. So you can initiate transaction based on voice. So there are a lot of these possibilities that we see in economic sector, like a power, like a energy, also the segment which is associated with the public services basically, right? And we also see a lot of effort has been put in something at a defense sector as well. But when we do that, some of the policies and procedures and compliances or the procedures basically may not be that conducive to the digital, the pace at which digitization is going, right? For example, if I talk about oil energy sector, so there is a definitely push for digitization coming even from ministries. But other side, we have a lot of policies of Government of India, which doesn't allow you to make use of cloud well, right, basically. So, so here comes the Abhijeet ji, basically. So, who had been single-handedly pushing the agenda of ways of doing business and making all this possible. So, I'd like to understand, like how can you make it possible? Some ideas is there, basically, and that idea.
Opportunity given to speak to a soldier is far much better, greater. Why I said this is because the policies, the anchor organizations, the large corporates and large PSUs of our nation creates and complete infrastructure, economics, and the way nation has to develop. In between very imminent, power-packed, very heavyweight panels, if you're seeing me speaking, that's an honor given by observer now. But why is that so? Is there is a change which we anticipated, expected from, I don't know, from 1947. It is now coming into action. So intent was there, but content was yet to be created, and extent we will tell together what level India will reach. 1947, when we got independence, we were an agricultural economy. Till 1960, we remained an agricultural economy. Slowly, we started becoming a manufacturing economy with the rise of manufacturing factories and the production plants. 1960 to 1985, we turned out to be a technology economy, where new technologies started coming. Our focus from manufacturing shifted, and our PSUs started building nation on a different level. India started getting recognition. If you look at the period between 1985 to 2000, a lot of PSUs has done wonderful work and which has gotten recognition. We are now getting fruits out of that. 1985 to 2000, after that technology economy, we started moving towards circular economy. Yet to be achieved, it has not reached. But 2022, from 1985 to 2022, our Prime Minister given a different sort of vision to the entire nation and to the entire economy, is to become Atmanirbhar, is to become leader, and is to do each and everything which we could not do in last 75 years. So the Amrit Kal, when you hear, is the last 25 years of our century in the country going to become a 100-year-old country. If we miss out anything which we could have done before, then that's a shame, that's a national shame, which we will bear into 2047. That we are a 100-year-old country, but we do not have digitalized, and we miss that train, we miss that infrastructure. So a lot of infrastructure which is coming up, it requires a different type of venture. So I am not a technology entrepreneur, I am not a product entrepreneur, I am not a service entrepreneur. So most of the startup which you will see, most of the companies and institutions which you will see in this economy growing are either technology, product or services. I'm a policy entrepreneur. Because if you will continue sticking to a policy which does not be productive, which has proven not to be productive, it can be a procurement model, it can be a financing model, it can be a data protection bill, or it can be a way how you used to do business, it did not work the way you wanted it to work for you. So that intent was there in the leadership. In the first 5 years, the reform happened. More than 5,000 laws, more than 5,000 obstacles were removed to bring ease of doing business to each sector and whatever dream you want to bring. In the next tenure of 2019 to 2024, this current running tenure, we worked on the perform. Perform means whatever you could have done, you did not do it, do not shy away. There might be a rule book for drone, there might be a rule book for 3D printing, there might be a rule book for defense procurement internally, externally. You do it, let's see how it works. That's the part we call perform.
Yeah.
And the transformation is yet to come into next 5 years if I connect it with the tenure of the government, and if I see the national tenure, the next 25 years. So by the time we reach to 2047, this 100-year journey of our country, we should have a clear vision of policies, requirement of compliances and compliances burden that should only meet the requirement of what we wanted to do. One very critical thing which I would like to, because you asked me what is your difficulty, it's not my difficulty, it's everybody's difficulty. If you look at before 2014, today we are doing wonderful into infrastructure, rail, road, transformation of highways, systems, all type of infrastructure, including space and the defense sector. But just look back before 2014. Majority of large projects related to hydel power, thermal power, and nuclear power, they all were stuck due to some sort of what we call it PLI, or public litigation, public interest PIL schemes. It's a geopolitical situation which we were facing. When all this got investigated, majority of them, they were found to be funded by an international company. Supreme Court put a stay order to a large project. What happened to it? Project cost goes up, we fell down. One hydel power, one thermal power, one nuclear power, which we could have got on time, is just delayed because somebody came up, 500 people, PIL is stuck there. And when you investigate, you find, okay, these are the NGOs which were particularly funded. I can on record say that there are a lot of NGOs which are under investigation right now. So why this happened, and when we wanted to change the economics of the policy, is we were still dependent on an foreign entity, on many of the foreign consulting organizations who were telling us how to do procurement, how to do project management, how to do your development. PSUs has that role to bring India come out of it.
Yeah.
Our PSUs are not only muscle power PSUs in having largest operations, largest ground and infrastructure in the country. They also need to give us a data-driven policy making system, what we call evidence-based policy making system.
Yeah.
And it will only be possible if we step out of the prism, step out of the magic that we see into an international organization who is giving us and consulting based on what? Based on the data, based on the work, based on the analytics which they have done. I believe my requirement, my wish list, my prescription is to have my PSUs giving us that type of power that we do not look into. It's a geopolitical situation, I'm telling you again. We are blessed with Dr. General Khandare, who would be able to have been spoken many of the times about this.
Yeah.
That if we will continue be depending on a foreign agency, we may do something which we will not be able to understand. It can be a data threat, it can be a security threat, it can be any type of threat. So my wish list is very clear. It could be in next 25 years we can look at it that it's growing and it's reaching to an level.
Yeah, and
thank you.
And thanks for underlining the role of PSU. We'll come to that because that's the next line of question. But I'd like to come to Prashant ji from the NEGD. So suddenly volume and velocity had grown Means if you look at every service, like thousands of the services digitally, you are enabling to among application, most of thing basically. And the volume and velocity, one is the volume and velocity, the idea that you think and you deploy is growing, and the number of transactions also quite significantly exploding, right? So in that case, from the infrastructure and application perspective, so and our story is not only government is in a policy, only policy making. Government is also intervening and putting together a lot of those things Mr. Nag talked about, right? How we are enabling digitization basically. So how do you see from the infrastructure perspective and application perspective, things are evolving and you are coping up with this volume and velocity which is going?
Thank you. And this question, I will start with my experience in Ministry of Rural Development. We started DBT from MG Narega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. And it was thought that things are not happening the way government is planning. So what new regime had come by the time I joined in Delhi. So we started putting everything on record. And by the time I left, 95% of the Gram Panchayats were linked and every muster roll was visible and all the transactions were happening. And we saw that journey, and first of the account closing day, 31st night of 31st March 2013 was a nightmare for me. And when I left in 2019, it got too smooth. So infrastructure requirement government understands as on day, and you can find that things are happening in transparent manner, and whenever we want some change in policy, it happens. And it is quite evident, you can see the import of laptop thing when it came around a month back and how it has been tweaked yesterday. So things are happening, and as per the convenience of all the government, private and PSU players, government thinks and do. And I think it was quite evident. I was doing G20 event for last 6 months, and I had got the chance to meet representative of 29 odd countries. And the message they carried when they arrived and when they left, that lot many things are happening in the positive direction. And I met a person from Vietnam during last visit to US, my personal trip. And he was knowing that things are happening in India. So global perspective is also changing with that thing. And government has not only come up with own development, is thinking to make the global percolation of their successful products with the DPI, Digital Public Infrastructure thing. And I think we are a country where if a product is successful, it will be successful in every other country with the large part of population we are having.
Yeah.
So that edge we are having.
Yeah, so the experiences in India with the volume that we have and things that we can do is now, I mean, this until now we have been serving, but henceforth with this experience we can really serve the global geography quite well. I'd like to come to Srinivas ji after hearing all these dimensions that we tried to put together in this panel, right? And as one of the leading technology providers, so how do you see the technology provider enabling this digitization journey? And there are very facets and nuances of digitization you just heard.
First of all, good morning, my co-panelists and the audience as well. So, leveraging digital technologies from technology players like Lenovo can be very transformative for PSUs. Lenovo being a provider of end-to-end IT infrastructure solution providers, in the recent years we have diversified into very, very vast technologies which has really benefited a lot of PSUs in India and across the world as well. If I have to pick up few of the areas where Lenovo has really contributed to the digital journey of these PSUs is one specifically is on the modernization of the infrastructure. Okay, where Lenovo provides today the high-performing servers, storage, and the PC solutions as well, which has really redefined the architecture that has been used in the PSUs today. And second thing is the mobility of the workforce. Today, with Lenovo tablets and the proven workstations and the PCs, we're able to provide mobility for the entire PSU workforce where they can access the data and applications on the go, which has an built-in connectivity, advanced connectivity technologies as well. And third area is, more importantly, on the virtualization and the hybrid cloud. Today, I know that, okay, just aggregating the data in the centralized data center is not good enough. We need to have some kind of hybrid cloud. And Lenovo has been pioneer in providing these hybrid cloud solutions where we have not only partnered with best of the breed hypervisor solutions, but also created some kind of seamless mobility for the PSUs to move the applications to and fro from the public to private clouds as well. And the last one which I want to highlight is the IoT and the edge kind of solutions, which has played a very key important role in the digital journey of the PSUs is today data is no more centralized in the central data center. It has been captured at the edge locations. So we have come up with the most innovative and reliable edge device solutions, which will not only aggregate the data, but also correlate the data and do the analysis, which can be useful for their business purpose as well. So in a whole, I would say that digital technologies from Lenovo has really played a very important role in really helping them to go on the digital journey there.
Yeah. So by hearing all of them and bringing different kind of context and dimensions, if there's any question that I can take from audience, because in the interest of time, I like to still take one or two questions if there are any from audience basically. Any question to panelist? If not,
Sir,
then I will.
By the time audience picks up a mic,
please,
I have one
10-second
wish list to be shared because I may not get such a wonderful panel to speak. Is when we speak about prototyping or POC, proof of concept of an emerging technology like data, drone, 3D printing or something, there are 18 to 20 technology which Prime Minister has put in the EODB challenge. Our wish list as an organization, as a country service provider for policy is when we conduct a pilot project, maybe for an electric highway or a drone pilot, it is mostly participated by private sector. And a lot of R&D related discussion going inside the private sector that we should increase our R&D budget. We should also bring in government. So principal scientific advisor to government of India.
I know the effort which is going on that. And
is it possible to have larger participation from PSUs also?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask that as a second line of question because as we talk about this digitization should happen through technology and innovation, how do you make sure? So we heard in the inaugural session about triple helix model, right? Where if you heard both of them, they talk about academia as a quite strong, means working with academic institutions is quite strong phenomena there basically. But making this technology work, commercial technology availability out of is very important basically. So what kind of instrument, as Abhijeet talked about, so all of this R&D that we see and discussion that we had been having is largely private sector seems very proactive in terms of catching up and working with the government and all across, but more in India basically. How do you make sure that the public sector unit are coming together and coming forcefully, and what kind of mechanism that you have been setting internally to, if you both can answer this question?
Sir, let me try to answer this question. Sir, again with the permissions, I would like to say that what you have said in your keynote address Viksit and Surakshit Bharat. Very rightly said, sir, and you also said that security and economy grow together.
Yeah.
So let me share with all of you a practical example. Power plants are critical infrastructure because they are directly related to the economy because they generate energy, very much required. And being a critical infrastructure, the security is very important, very, very important. And we had a man-based security from CRPF, CISF, very good security. But now we have done a changeover, sir. Let me share with. That was purely a man-based security, well proven, well established. Now with the advent of the digital technologies, what we have seen, and let me just share the outcome.
So one part which is important is what kind of instrument that you are creating to make sure that you push hard agenda of research, innovation? Is it project by project or any internal innovation team or some function that you have set up for this, or is coming as a day-to-day activity? So the question is, what kind of thing that you are doing and what you should be doing to make sure that PSU's role in R&D innovation in us is quite significant in quite scalable way?
See, in our day-to-day operations, we have the pain points.
Yeah.
And these pain points, addressing these pain points, how to address them, there has to be a collaborative approach.
Yeah.
And because we have the domain knowledge, we have the problems related to the information knowledge with the pain. But the solution part, that is not available with us.
Yeah.
That is available with the institution, academia, scientific bodies, regulatory bodies, and other public sectors who have also similar problems. I think this collaborative approach, if we form, and then only we will gain and we will be able to find the solutions in time and better solutions.
Yeah. So Manish, there's certainly very strong and maybe a comfort situation here that academia collaboration is definitely dominant there. Probably your rule book allows to work with academia more than working with industry. But if something has to be done to work with startup, work with industry, work with some players which can make this commercial technology available quickly and improve the kind of contribution in R&D. So what are those things that should be done to improve what Abhijeet asked?
I'd like to answer this in two parts. First of all, in terms of R&D per se, a company like ours runs a full-blown R&D division.
Okay, so there is at least a division.
We have a full-blown R&D division, which is
mechanism.
Contributing, and today we have about more than 2,500 IPRs which we have filed and approved, which is continuously working on all the cutting-edge technologies in terms of the lot of lubricants and the Indimax technologies which we have sold out to the world today, and hydrogen, and all the new things which we are working on. So we have a continuous, entire campus in Faridabad, which is working continuously, and we have scientists who are collaborating with all the government institutions. At the same time, at the same place, we have also created an incubator, which is, promoting the startups, the individuals, the companies, and we are in touch with them. We are the ones, give them the ideas, they develop those products which are of interest to us. And in that way, we are promoting the startups in a very, very big way. And some of those products, like, as I was mentioning, Algo8, one of the startups created a tool for us in conjunction with one of the academia, which is being very useful to us. Yeah. Similarly, we have no, hesitation in working along with any of the companies, be it any sector for that matter.
Yeah, and this is a very important instrument. And I know because we engage with cybersecurity startup, and some of the startups in cybersecurity is beneficiary of the program that you lay down basically. So some of these instruments are very important to build in the PSUs, and as you Abhijeet talked about, like the footprint of PSUs in India quite significant, and that can be leveraged to really improve the innovation research ecosystem in the country. In the interest of time, I would definitely want to extend this communication, but probably we need to conclude with this thought to be deliberated throughout the day. I hope we are able to really
unpeel some part of the possibilities and challenges of making it sure the PSU's role in innovation, digital transformation significantly improves. And to make that happen, all these, my panelists, please join me to give the big hand to all of them.
Sir, I think Indian Oil should deserve a thank you from all of us who is doing on the net zero and green mobility.
Yeah.
In India, we have only 2 hydrogen cars.
Yeah.
One is with Gadkariji and second is with Toyota.
Yeah.
Your facility gives possibility to fill up hydrogen.
Yeah.
I hold largest 5,500 kilometer dispensing capability on national highways. We would have been dependent on Japan or America if you would not have created that facility in Gurgaon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.